Couldn't life just be simply beautiful if it weren't for all the problems we carry around with us? Sometimes you wonder, can't we just let them go? Do we really still need all that junk? Apparently, there are always some conscious or unconscious reasons to hold on to our problems, or to keep recreating them, so we remain stuck in the same drama over and over again. And maybe sometimes it just takes certain questions that we should ask ourselves to figure out where the small adjustments are that we can make to resolve our blockages and finally leave the problems behind us. And for that very reason, I've made a new list of 10 for you today. And if you're interested in how you can solve your problems, then stay tuned. Welcome to Soul Tapping. My name is Sabine König. I am a psychotherapist from Cologne, and this is my podcast, Overcoming Depression with Love. And today, after a long time, there's finally a nice list of 10 from me again. And we'll start right away. 10 questions if you can't let go of your problem. Point number 1. Ask yourself the question, what expectations are blocking me? That means ideas about how things should be, how they must not be, how things absolutely have to go, and if they don't go that way, we experience stress. Yes, so, for example, you might say, let's say, your problem is that you can't forgive. Then it might be that you still have the expectation that the other person must first apologize, must feel remorse, must realize that they did something wrong. And before that, you can't even begin to let go of your resentment or forgive them. Or maybe you have the expectation, if you have a problem with relationships, that your partner must first change, that they must first do something right before everything can get going, before you can feel good. Or you must first find a perfect new partner, the perfect job, the perfect apartment. You have such an expectation of how it has to happen that it must come first. And only then can you let go of your problem. But what if that's not true at all? What if you could actually examine this expectation within yourself and maybe even let it go? Because then things start to flow again. And before that, you block yourself if you assume it has to happen exactly that way, because most of the time, things turn out differently than you think. So let go of your expectations. Point 2. Judgments. What judgments, what evaluations make me hold on to my problem? For example, the classic case, if you suffer from depression or anxiety, you might have a belief, a judgmental belief like, I am a failure, I am weak, I didn't manage to do it, whatever it may be. Or you have a belief like, I must be ashamed that I have depression or that I deal with anxiety disorders or burnout. That's a judgment, not a fact. What if you remove the judgment from it? Maybe then you don't have to be ashamed anymore. And then everything can start moving again, then healing can begin. Because such a judgment is a big, fat blockade. And then you somehow get stuck in it. Or another judgment, for example, if you're unhappy with your body because it doesn't look the way it should or doesn't function the way it should. So a judgment is always when you say, it has to be like this is right, this is wrong, it shouldn't be like this. So, when you categorize things like that, it's a total blockade. A partner should behave like this, a partner shouldn't behave like that. It's a blockade. So ask yourself this question, what might apply to your life in this context? Or, the classic, I'm just not good enough. That's the ultimate belief, everyone has it somehow. I'm not good enough. Yes, it's a fact that I'm not good enough, that I'm not pretty enough, that I'm not educated enough, that I'm blah blah blah. No. It's a judgment. Let it go. Question number 3 you should ask yourself if you can't let go of your problem. What false conclusions should I question? It's about how you interpret the things happening in your life, that maybe you've drawn a false conclusion that isn't true and is now blocking you. For example, I have no idea. General, things like that. my mother didn't want me back then. So that means I'm bad, that I'm guilty, that I ruined her life. And so on. I often experience in my practice that mothers, or that my clients actually say, yes, if you hadn't been there, my life would have been completely different and such things. That is a false conclusion. So, yes, you are allowed to question that. Or even small things in everyday life. My friend canceled our appointment, so that means she rejects me. Or something like that. No, it doesn't mean that. It just means she doesn't have time or something else is going on. Yes, that's what I mean by that. Conclusions can be wrong. Check if you're interpreting something like that. If there's a belief behind it. Also, something like, yes, I'm already 52, so I'm too old and won't get a new job anymore. Or I shouldn't even try to start a new career because it's already too late to fulfill my life's purpose. No. It's a false conclusion. You should question such things in your everyday life. And 4, this is a somewhat provocative statement. You can still just listen to it and see what it does to you. What do I perhaps unconsciously love about this problem? So much that I keep creating it over and over again. There, you ask yourself about secondary gains, for example. Many have such a pattern, getting sick, to receive attention and love. And if you were to let go of the problem, meaning the illness, you would have to give up something, namely the positive things you received through the illness. So, attention, love, or perhaps something like leniency, where people don't take what you do so seriously, where they don't hold you to such a high pedestal, doesn't have such high expectations, doesn't put pressure on you because, well, you're just sick and all that. So, the risk of failure is somewhat reduced. For example, these are all secondary gains from being sick or being depressed, or however, being limited. And you should ask yourself, what do I unconsciously love so much about being sick? Or having this problem, whatever it may be, that I keep creating it for myself? So, there are more examples like this. For instance, that you suffer unconsciously to get back at your ex. Or your mother or whoever else. That you unconsciously want to show them, see, this is how badly you treated me. Now look at what you've caused. And then you suffer and stay sick. And you should question that. Could it be that a part of you loves this illness in some way? And values it because it brings so many great advantages that you can't let go of it yet? Or, I don't know. Also, wanting to be right is another thing, another secondary gain, the satisfying feeling of having been right with a pessimistic worldview. You keep creating things that always go wrong because you already knew beforehand that they would go wrong anyway. And afterward, you have this feeling of triumph, like, see, I told you it would go wrong again. That can be an unconscious secondary gain. Of course, no one does this intentionally, it's completely clear, it's all unconscious. But you should question it sometimes. Maybe you learned somehow in your childhood that staying small or staying sick is safer. And that joy of life, growing into your own strength, and things like that, that it could be dangerous because it might not have been well received or was punished or something like that. Yes, so could it be that you are constantly creating and reenacting your problem or suffering because you still believe in those old beliefs? You should check that. Question number 5 that you should ask yourself if you can't let go of your problem. Ask the question about your identity. Ask the question, who would I be without my problem? With depression, you often experience this because it's one of those chronic illnesses that just drag on for a long time. And then people start to really fully identify with it. I am the depressed one here, I am the weak one, I am the sick one. Unfortunately, that's not possible for me. And they can't even imagine themselves as healthy, happy, and powerful anymore. And, check that out. Who would I be without my depression, without my panic attacks, without my other issues? What kind of problems? Relationship problems, job problems, unemployment, money problems, it can be anything. Who would you be then? For example, Suppose you've always attracted partners into your life who dominate you unpleasantly, who suppress you, who treat you poorly, or something like that. Think about it. Who would you be if you suddenly chose a weak partner? Then you would suddenly be strong. That wouldn't work at all, for example. Or if you finally attract a partner into your life who really treats you well, who cherishes you. How does that feel? Do you perhaps feel guilty then? And think, I don't deserve to be treated so well. Check that out to see if you have any such unconscious stories within you. Question number 6. Who would I be less like if I let go of my problem now? I'll ask again, who would I be less like if I let go of my problem now? This is about the topic of loyalty. Imagine, for example, you have a problem with being overweight and you come from a family where everyone is overweight. Can you then just be the only one in the family to go ahead and become slim, beautiful, and confident while everyone else is still struggling with their weight? That's not possible. Then you no longer belong. You have to stay loyal to your family, and you can't just step out of the shared boat. Then you lack a great sense of security and a sense of belonging. Or maybe if you have depression and a friend of yours also has depression, and you both kind of lift each other up a bit and maybe also bring each other down again. And you're somehow such a good team, because you understand each other so well. You can't just give that up. You couldn't do that to your girlfriend. Do that. It's about loyalty. So ask yourself the question, who will you become less similar to? Or, many people also mimic their parents' symptoms. It's not even necessarily that it's genetically inherited, but illnesses are also, so to speak, copied. Unconsciously, of course. And then there's a belief like, well, I can't be happy if my mother is suffering so much. Or my father, or my brother, sister, whoever. Check if you might be keeping yourself sick. To be loyal to loved ones so they don't feel stupid if you suddenly become happy. Or in my family, everyone has money problems. It's always been that way. And if I suddenly come along and have a lot of money, then I'm in the family. The unpopular rich snob whom they reject or who everyone comes to beg from. I definitely don't want that. I don't want any envy. I don't want to attract any hatred. That's why I'd rather stay stuck in my money problems. Of course, it's also about secondary gains, but above all, I want to focus here on this loyalty thing. That can really be an argument for why you unconsciously prefer to keep your problem. Question number 7 asks about your resources, about your possibilities. Ask yourself the question, if I dared now to let go of the problem, to close this door behind me, what new door would then open in front of me? What possibilities am I holding in front of me, hidden from myself? By keeping my problem, by staying stuck in the old me, staying stuck in all this old mess. And if I were to let that go, what would suddenly be possible for me? For example, you have a relationship problem, you're totally unhappy with your partner and you would actually like to separate, but you have such a big fear of the separation because you don't know what will happen then. And it doesn't really matter whether it's about a partner, a job you don't like, where you feel uncomfortable, that might have even made you sick. Whether you live in an apartment, that has made you sick, and so on. This can affect different areas of life. And if you're afraid to let go of it, then ask yourself, well, you probably have the thought in your head all the time, well, if I separate now, it could get really bad, like I might not find someone new or a new job. But turn the question around, ask it the other way. What will become possible? For example, that I find a much better partner who suits me much better, that I find a better job for myself that brings me joy, with nice people, earning a lot of money, for instance. Or a beautiful apartment. So, check your pessimistic beliefs, like, it won't work anyway, that I'll ever one day blah. Position. The question about the possibilities, which door would open in front of me. Or also the people who are now in that typical midlife crisis age and realize, I'm not happy in my job at all anymore, and are considering completely changing their career, just like I did. That can be frightening, not knowing what will come. In the meantime, one might really earn less, have less comfort. You have to take risks, you have to trust, you don't know if it will work out. But ask yourself, which doors would open, what opportunities would be there if I dared to make this leap now? Question number 8 that you can ask yourself if you can't let go of your problem. It's the question of change. What would change so much by letting go of my problem that it really scares me? The fear of change is a huge reason to hold on to problems. It's a huge, innate fear. Change is always interpreted by our survival system as a threat, no matter how positive the change is. I've talked about this in many videos. Suppose you have some strong limitation, always have to stay at home. Maybe because you have some kind of, I don't know, physical problem. Or maybe you have depression, or maybe you have agoraphobia or something like that, where you're not even daring to go out because of fears, to go to work, whatever. Just imagine if you could let go of the problem, if it simply wasn't there anymore. And you could suddenly go out again. And suddenly there would be so much freedom. How does that feel? Maybe that just scares you. It would be completely normal, it would be innate. So maybe you have a feeling of, I'm losing my security. My limitation brings me security and structure. I'm given the directive that I can only move within these 4 walls and nothing more. And somehow that feels safe. And the freedom would scare me. Or maybe you're also dependent on other people because of this, or they're a bit tied to you, because they couldn't possibly leave you alone in this state. Maybe you have separation anxiety or something like that. Check that out. What about it scares you so much that you can't let go of the problem? And what if you could let it go? You can always tap. The tapping technique is truly fantastic for such things, to eliminate such blockages. By simply looking at it in a systematically structured way. What scares me there? And what if I could tap on this fear and then let it go? Maybe I don't need it anymore. That would be one possibility, for example. So, letting go of fear also scares many people. I can't go out of the house without my fear. My fear protects me, after all. Well, that's a misunderstanding. Fear does not protect you. You are not safer when you are afraid. You might be more alert or something like that. Maybe you think something like that. If I go out without fear, I might be somehow careless and then I won't see the dangers, or something like that. That's a misunderstanding because fear causes your brain to stop functioning properly. That means you are not really more alert. You can pay much better attention when your brain is functioning, so let go of your fear. Okay, then we have point 9. This is the question about your resources. What do I need to let go of the problem more easily? So if, for example, as we just said, that through your limitations, you also have security and that security would then disappear. Where do you get a better sense of security? Fear is not the best strategy to give you a feeling of security and control. Because that doesn't work. Somehow, the strategy doesn't work. Try it with trust. You can learn that. You can't just switch it on like that, and then you have trust. But you can learn it, you can practice it. So yes, and with tapping acupressure as an example, you can also apply 1,000 other techniques, but so much is possible to get into trust, to let go of fears. And yes, ask yourself, what would I need to still feel safe, even if I let go of my problem or my fear now? For example, trust. Or if you, let's say, as we just mentioned, if you endure an unloved partner, or an unloved job or something like that. Who could support you in a separation? Who could support you in finding a new job? So really ask about resources, instead of just thinking, it won't work, it won't work, it won't work. I have to keep my problem. And then we have another point. 10. Just ask yourself the question, is the problem even real? Is it really a problem? Often, it's not like that at all. Often, the problem existed in the past. Or it exists in your feared future. But, is it real in the here and now? Do you have a real problem? Or, is it still there? Or is it actually long gone, and you just keep saying that you had a problem, but actually it's not current anymore? That could also be the case. Do you make it real again and again by constantly talking about it and maybe complaining about it? For example, holding on to the past, holding on to your accusations against someone who once did something to you, whom you believe is to blame for the way you feel today. That may partly be a cause. But does it help you to hold on to the past and your problem? No, it doesn't help you. So things like regret, remorse, if only I had back then today would be different. Right. Staying stuck in self-reproach or something like that doesn't help you. So don't keep talking about it if it's not a real problem. Or things where, upon closer inspection, you might realize they are trivial. Suppose you booked a vacation apartment for your holiday, you get there, and it's not perfectly cleaned. So, let's use that as an example. Is that a problem? No, it's not, right? So, maybe it's not a problem for you either. But I mean things like that, those little everyday things that might not be a big deal. Or you go to a restaurant and get upset because it takes so long for the food to arrive. Or it's somehow oversalted or something like that. That's not a problem. Yes, question that. Whether the things you believe are problems really are. Or if it's actually just happening in your head. And you can change that. Okay, my dear ones, that was my list of 10, and I'm looking forward to your comments, your likes. I would appreciate a subscription to my channel, and I will also try to make new videos soon and have a bit more time for that again. And maybe soon I'll tell you a bit about my decluttering phase that I'm currently going through. That's why I'm a bit distracted by my own topics right now. And I'm not really in the zone to make new videos, but I'm definitely looking forward to a nice comment from you. And now I wish you a wonderful, snowy, sunny day. Take care, my dears. Bye.